Hello again, everyone. Varel here, Flo out of Portland. Welcome back to our frequently asked question mini series. And this one, fairly simple and straightforward. How do I know if my roof damage is from wear or a specific event? You know whether that specific event was creating the issue, typically because an issue like a leak may show itself near, close to that specific event. Maybe there's a wind storm here in the Northwest that had a tree limb knock some shingles off or literally penetrated through the sheathing. We've seen limbs literally sticking out of roofs before. Wind at the gorge and the coast can also remove shingles completely if it's an older roof, and we'll talk about why that might happen here in the second half of this. But that wind related event can also expose fasteners, which can create a leak. And so if your roof is having issues, aka let's just use a leak as an example, and it's from normal wear, typically you don't care about your maintenance, right? Typical property owners gonna try to be, thinking that in the long run they're gonna save money by not spending money up front, taking care of their roof, but that'll bite them in the butt later down the road. And so maybe you would have survived a specific weather event like wind had you taken care of the roof better in the earlier years to reduce the aging effect. But it all comes down to how you treat your roof, really. What is your maintenance cycle? What is your risk tolerance? And so how do I know if my roof is damaged from wear is going to be pretty simple to inspect for. If we're on the roof and we see literal missing shingles after a weather event, and you've had a leak after a closer storm, or you have limbs damaging, that's fairly obvious. The wear part of where a leak may come from, at least on the shingle side of things, is you're going to have your tabs are not going to be sealed. And so it'll be relatively easy to lift up those shingles without any effort. There'll be no stick, and those shingles can get blown upwards with wind, and then wind-driven rain comes in, finds itself a fastener, and gets in the roof that way. Other natural wear can be cracking hip and ridge cap shingles. So you could take care of the rest of the roof, but hip and ridge shingles, typically, if you're not on your maintenance and or doing your tune-ups properly, can have an exposed entry point, which can allow water to enter as well. That tune-up may also, if you're not doing it, you may not hit your exposed fasteners around your chimneys, around your flashings, and you may not catch your pipe boots or even your plastic flapper vents if you got a cheaper system. When they're actually damaged, we see a lot of plastic components under the UV decades in get brittle because of the UV that makes it harden up, and then it'll crack around where the tension is of the fastener, and then you've got yourself another entry point. But had you been doing your tune-ups, those would have been sealed properly. You may have protected it, or you would have been aware that you needed to address these plastic components that would have prevented you from having a leak in the first place. And, for some people, they're like, well, I'll take the gamble, and instead of doing the maintenance properly, I'll just wait until an issue rises, and I'll spend the possible thousands of dollars in making sure that issue gets fixed when it happens, as opposed to preventing the issue from happening in the first place. And so, we were talking about this to commercial folks. We're explaining to them, you guys should probably understand that when the United States military conducts maintenance on their buildings, they do not want to overspend, right? All government contracts are what's called prevailing wage, which means the winning contract is the lowest price because their competitiveness on the wages are relatively the same. They have to pay a specific prevailing rate for their sheet metal guys, for the roofers, for all the different trades. They have different quantities. And so those prevailing wage rates kind of level the playing field because you have to do what's called, what is it? It's official payroll? No, certified payroll. And so you do your certified payroll at your required hourly reporting rates. Keep in mind too, when I was wearing the belt, when I was doing gutters, like one of my biggest projects was a prevailing project. Doesn't mean that there's not big projects in the prevailing world. We're quoting out schools right now. and all the schools are going to be large. And so, that being said, if the government's taking their building maintenance seriously, and they understand through studies like at the Air Force level on 600 million square feet that if they just take care of their roofs, they will last longer, and then the lifetime expenses of the system will go down drastically because they're putting good energy into the system. You get what I'm trying to say. Take care of your damn roof. So, but if it's a flat roof or it's metal, it's completely different. It'll take a lot longer for metal to fail if it's been installed correctly and flashed correctly. For exposed fasteners, it'll happen a little bit sooner. You may have to change those exposed fasteners throughout the cycle. We're working with an airport right now, and we're like, okay, you guys got all these hangers, but if they're like, we'll keep it under 50,000 and we don't have to go to bid. I'm like, okay, well, coaching Nick through this. Nick's our commercial estimator. I'm like, they got to understand that, for the size of this airport, like the material package is going to be about $500,000, and they're asking for metal. Okay, it's north of about 1,400 squares, roughly about 100 small houses in one, and they want standing seam metal. They're not asking for a corrugated exposed fastener. So just the material package, we're telling them like, hey, you guys are going to be well and above your budget for what you're hoping not to have go to public bid, because you want to. I told them like their panels are fine. The paint is not chipped. Like let's just get them a nice chunky tune-up. Let's change the fasteners, right? Let's avoid having it go to bid, because they're not going to want to spend over $1 million on their damn roofs. I can't imagine the port's going to be like, not going to raise dues on the hangar rentals because of that. I don't know what that looks like. I'm not on the backside of what airplane hangar rents are going for these days, but trying to give them the example of like, let's just try to save you guys, literally at even the government, the municipality level. Let's not replace these roofs. The paint's fine. You're going to get another 20 plus years. The roof's not even rust showing. Okay, from metal, when you know that it's natural wear, though, on the exposed fastener side, your neoprenes are going to be loose and or cracked or absent, and then you can replace those. But if the panel paint is flaking / rusting / starting to rust through, that needs to be replaced versus what can be salvaged if the paint's okay. A little bit of fade is fine. You probably, if it's faded but not rusted, I'd say you could probably get another decade or two out of that metal roof. Just not going to look sexy, okay? And then for membrane, on the extreme end, we've seen membranes actually crack like potato chips as like a natural wear effect. And all these different roofs will show damages completely different, and obviously in something that's relating to a weather event versus natural wear. But membrane can be a little more subtle as well. So if you had a weather event, potentially tension in a cold snap or wind related things can open up seams, but typical natural wear around a membrane system is going to happen around the penetrations, where you should be resealing things, tuning it up, because you're great maintenance folks out there, all of our commercial peoples and their portfolios, and all of our residential people. You guys are savvy investors. You want to save the most. You want to avoid unnecessary expenses because you care that your time is valuable. Am I wrong? So take care of your roofs. Natural wear is going to show a little bit different in all these different little systems. I can't speak much to ADPM. I speak a little bit to SBS, which is modified torch down or ungranulated torch down even. Some of these schools are speccing out granulated torch. Some of them are speccing out membrane. And with that, the wear of your shingles is going to show probably a lot more obvious to what can be repaired or not, versus membrane be a little more subtle. But you'll find out either way. When these systems fail, you'll see water coming through, and that's the worst case indicator that something is going wrong, right? Unfortunately, leaks do happen. I traveled to Indonesia a while back, and it was during the wet season. It was like monsoon season. They call it, I think it's monsoon. mainly because I wanted it to be less crowded. I wanted to try to find some waves that was, some quiet waves, some quiet beaches. Found some good waves for sure. But the rain and, I mean, just the basic infrastructure, the building codes of Indonesia, for anyone that's been there, is very, I mean, they get storms, so they get massive floods because of all the different precipitations. The the roofs are not in any sort of code orientation. It's basically like, what do we need to do to protect ourselves from the rain? And the weather event there is always, torrential downpours in the biggest way versus and I look to their flat roofs because they do a lot of modified up there as well down there. And I'm running through these airports looking at these buildings. I'm just like staring at the roofs. I'm like, oh gosh, I can't stop. But they don't have nearly this type of same tree cover. They don't have the cycles with the different weathers. A little bit of wind and a lot of rain is what a roof is designed for. But a lot of wind and a lot of rain can be a little bit different of an effect, with better UV, like more UV as well. Like, we're getting some hotter temperatures here in the Northwest. The seasons are getting a little more violent. So natural wear versus specific roof events, either way, a good way to prevent anything from happening is to take a preventative type approach and just get your damn inspections, right? Find a company that does free inspections, get eyeballs around where you think may be potential issues, but it's a lot more worthwhile to have peace of mind knowing everything's cool than to just gamble, roll the dice, and look for something down the road to happen, and then you're spending, that whatever that repair is going to cost from both the interior's perspective and then whatever the roof needs. So preventative, not reactive maintenance, everyone would be, I think, worth everyone's time. So I'm going to hammer on it until everyone understands it. And then when everyone understands it, I'm going to hammer it again. So catch you on the next one.